Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. We're back with the Irish Abroad. Me and Paul here today, and today we're going to be picking our team of the season for the Irish Abroad this year. Not before we get into a couple of topics for Irish players abroad. We'll start with Idah. He's been in some great form the last couple of weeks, really kind of finishing the season well. Scored again this weekend against Hibernian in a 3-1 win for Celtic. He's flying at the moment.
Yeah, you probably look at his overall season and he's kind of almost swapped places with Troy in that sense. Obviously, Troy had started the season so well, carried that on in and it's kind of gotten injuries and stuff like that, so he's kind of winded down a little bit, whereas Adam's gone the other route where he's just kept scoring and kept himself in the limelight, I suppose. I mean, if you were picking an Irish team tomorrow, you'd probably say he starts because of the form that he's in. And I like the way Heimer generally does that. Heimer, whatever you want to call him. So I like the way that he does that in terms of form wise, and we will also be speaking about kind of our thoughts on who might get called up and stuff like that at the end, so I'll leave that kind of chat for that. But no, it's great to see him scoring, performing, doing well, and proving a lot of people wrong, because I did look up his name before as he'd scored, and I saw a lot of tweets of people abusing him, and then of course he scores the goal, so it was a nice way for him to prove the critics wrong once again. So yeah, I don't know what it is with Celtic fans and him that this thing against him, but look, all I'd be saying is he's got now 20 goals. He might score a couple more, and I think that he's justified his signing this year and his loan signing last year. So look, league champion again as well, so he'll be happy.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because he started the season really well and then kind of tailed off slightly after Celtic got knocked out of the Champions League, which he had performed really well in. Thinking particularly of the Aston Villa tie, that he scored 2 goals in. His season kind of tailed off from there on out. He kind of fell out of favour a little bit, was playing kind of cameo roles off the bench. Lost that kind of starting role that we were hoping that he would kind of grab. But, you know, end of the season, you can't ask for any more. He's proven Brendan Rodgers wrong, I suppose, from mid-season where he had fallen out of favour and has really kind of kicked on, scored a couple of goals in the last couple of weeks, and like you said, caught up to Troy Parrott, who seemed to be kind of running away from him a little bit in terms of, for Irish players anyway, the goal scoring charts, and both on 20 goals now. So it's really brilliant to see like 2 strikers in such good form. And even Evan Ferguson, like, I know he hasn't been great at club level, but in an Ireland shirt, that's at the end of the day what we care about. Performed, and in that Bulgaria game at home, I really like that kind of 3 striker rotation that we have going, and we just choose who the form man is. It'll be interesting to see. I know he's probably going to rotate, and like you said, we're going to come on to that later in the video, but he's probably going to rotate for these upcoming friendlies.
Yeah, and I think just on Adam, like, and Troy, like, they're good mates, so they're not competing with themselves. Like, they'll only be focused on their team and so on.
Competing in a healthy way, I would say, yeah.
I know, but they both want each other to do well.
Yeah.
He mentioned it in the interview that I did with him. Is that like they text each other all the time and they're wishing each other well and stuff like that. So there's maybe there's a little bit of friendly banter and that sort of thing, but it's definitely they're wanting for everyone to do well, because it means that the national team is more likely to do well. So I like that as well, about the two of them, you know what I mean? So I think it's great that, and actually, when is the last time at that kind of high level, how many Irish players have like finished on like 20 goals in a season, like strikers? So it's nice to have that for the first time in a long time. So I'm really, really happy, really proud of them, to be honest. Really proud of how they've handled themselves. They've had their setbacks. They've been written off numerous times by different teams, different people and different teams and different managers, and they've come back, and I think they're starting to kind of really show that maturity, and they're starting to kind of grow into men now more than anything else, and I think that's only going to bode well in the future.
Yeah, it's great, because I think in a couple of positions we have that nice little healthy competition going. Thinking of centre back, right back, even goalkeeper.
We just don't have it in centre mid now. That's
Yeah.
the key area we need.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully someone emerges over the next year.
Yeah, and we definitely have that up front, like you said. But moving on to those right backs, and Seamus Coleman for your beloved Everton returned to the pitch for the first time in a long time. Great to see Seamus back.
Yeah, you know, it was a bit weird seeing him come on because he hadn't played in so long. He hadn't played since Stevens' day against Man City, when he obviously infamously wound up Erling Haaland and he missed the penalty. Stay humble, eh? But yeah, brilliant to see that he's back. And I think now this week, coming up for the Southampton game, I think it's going to be a big occasion for him. I think it's got a lot of it's going to be kind of hyped around him. Not that he will want that, but it just generally will be, because it's likely going to be it'll be his last appearance obviously in Goodison, but it'll likely be his last appearance from what I'm hearing. David Moyes kind of wants him to stay on. What capacity, nobody really knows. There's talk of him kind of becoming like a player coach, and if that's the case, great. But I would like him to continue on for next season. I know it's not a popular choice, and I think there's some people that would rather he just kind of, because they're not getting Everton are getting as much bang for their buck as you would say. But I think what he brings to the dressing room, the way people speak about him, I think that Everton should be doing what they can to keep a hold of him and keep him around there. Not just as a coach, but as a player as well. He came on, and I know he didn't play for long, but you saw he still had elements that he could still offer something. Is he first choice? No. Is he second choice? Probably not. But even the third choice, bring him in for cup games, keep him around the place. That would be my take on it. I think he should finish internationally to prolong his career, because what I've been hearing is his calves are really bad, and when he gets an injury, when he plays a game, he has to take nearly a week off to get back training again, or 4 days off to get back training again before he can get back in training. So that's not a good sign for someone who's a professional footballer, and that is you live to train to play every game, and he's just his body's just unfortunately not where we would all want it to be, because we would like Seamus to continue maybe until he's 40, if he could,
Yeah.
and I still think he has everything that he could continue for another year, and then just kind of call it a day. But I think it'd be a sad day if this is his last ever game of football this Saturday.
Yeah,
Sorry, this weekend.
and if it is, I think it would be very valuable for Everton to keep him on in sort of a coaching role. Every manager, there's been a couple of managers come through Everton over the last couple of years, and
More than a couple.
yeah, definitely. And Sean Dyche, Frank Lampard, they've all sung his praises.
Ancelotti.
How much of a leader he's been in that dressing room when things get hard, when Everton are struggling, which it has been. Being honest, over the last couple of years, he's really stepped up and taken control of things. I know his legacy in Ireland is really cemented. Everybody has their opinions on him. He's held in such high regard. You that know from the Everton perspective, more so than I would, and more so than most of us would, how is that legacy perceived in the eyes of Everton fans?
Oh, he's an absolute legend. Everybody knows that. He lives in the city, so he meets Evertonians all the time, and he stops, he talks. I've never heard, it might be Liverpool fans, but I've never heard anyone I know or anyone I met in football say a bad word about the fella. He is just the epitome of someone who's never changed his ways from when he was a young man to when he's now. And I met him as a young man. I met him in and around his kind of first few games for Everton and stuff like that. Obviously, I knew he was Irish and stuff like that, so I kept a keen eye on him. And then I met him, and he hasn't changed at all. And he's very, humble. He doesn't get carried away. Look, in his own right, he's a superstar. He's the Ireland captain, the Everton captain. So he would have every right to be egotistical and everything like that, but he's not. He's just, and everybody knows that. And I think the more stuff has come out behind the scenes of the club, I think the more people appreciate him and respect him. And I think there'll be some sort of banner with Seamus on it, or tifo or something like that, against Southampton. And as I say, I just hope that he feels the love that he deserves, because he's been an unbelievable servant for Everton, and I do think as well, obviously, for Ireland. But I think in terms of value for money, and that's why, again, when you talk about value for money, and then you have people saying, no, he doesn't deserve one more season, I think he would. I think he's enough credit in the bank to get one more season. That's just my own personal view, though. Some people might not agree on that.
Yeah, and definitely probably go down as one of the best transfers in Premier League history. He's probably even held in higher regard because of the fact that kind of in his prime, when he was in his sort of mid to late 20s, he probably was, alongside Kyle Walker, one of the best right backs, if not the best right back in the Premier League at a time. And he's probably held in even higher regard for not leaving Everton at that time. The likes of Man United or Arsenal probably sniffing around him. You probably tell me if I'm wrong, but I'd say that
Bayern Munich, another.
Yeah, that kind of loyalty, which you don't see that much in football anymore, has probably held him. Has put his position in Everton's history higher.
Yeah, well, I think Tarkowski came out and said it on Monday Night Football. He's the epitome of the football club.
Yeah,
Conor Cody has spoken. These are lads who would be held very highly everywhere they go. These lads who say that. Idrissa Gana Gueye, he said the same thing about Seamus. Look, everybody. If you want an insight into what Seamus Coleman's like, watch that documentary on YouTube that Everton put out, and that'll tell you everything you need to know about the fella. He's just a great human.
Yeah, and if it is to be
and a great player. People would probably underestimate how good of a player he was because his injuries and stuff like that. But you remember, like this is a lad who came from Sligo, no academy football, no nothing. He had no chance of making it. He went over and he made it, and he made it because of who he is, his character, his hard work, and everything else. And he, like everyone you speak, all the Irish players, all the young Irish players love him. Troy loves him. Gavin Bazunu loves him. They all love him. Like, this is a fella who goes out of his way to make sure everyone is feeling like they belong in the squad and everything like that. I can't look. I'll be here all day. I can't speak highly enough of the guy. Whatever he decides to do, I wish him nothing but the absolute best because he is the best. Yeah, that's all I got to say about it.
Yeah, and if it is to be his last season, it'd be sad, but I'm sure everybody here in Ireland will be hoping that he plays for as long as he can. But if he's not physically able to, then he may as well.
I think that's all it'll come down to. I don't think it's mentally. I don't think he wants to, but
I'm sure. Yeah,
the body will give up at some stage. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I mean, I'm 35 in August, and I'm feeling it now. And he's a few years older than me. I can't imagine how I'm going to feel in 2 years.
Absolutely. So we're wishing him the best in whatever he decides to do. So moving on to the main event of this episode of the Irish Abroad. Me and Paul.
Main event of the evening.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're going to be picking our team of the season for the Irish Abroad this year. So I'll let you kick it off. By the way, we're also going to be picking our awards for the year. So Player of the Year, Women's, Men's.
We'll hold that for next week.
We're going to hold that for next week. So make sure to stay tuned for that one.
What I would say to anyone who for that is, if you want to vote for anyone, whether it's Women's Young Player of the Year, Player of the Year, Goal of the Season, Save of the Season, I will post them on post your comment under this video, and we can take it and use it, and we'll accumulate the votes on our social media and so on and so forth, and then we'll add them up, and then we'll have that way. So yeah. Anyway, sorry, my team of the season. I'll make it quick. I'm going for a 3-5-2 because I'm going to fit in some defenders in here.
Shoehorn some defenders in.
Not shoehorn. And I'll get to that. So I'm going to go Kelleher in goal. I had Josh Keeley as a honourable mention that I might have gone with if Kelleher hadn't been so influential during the period in which he was playing. And he obviously had a good season with Ireland as well, taking away the Finland mistake. Other than that, I thought he was very good. And he's likely to move on now based off a really good season, and his stock is really high. So I got McQueevy in there. Left wing back, James McLean, he captained Wrexham back to the championship, and he's been playing really good every single week. And the fans love him. And every time I look at Wrexham, he seems to be involved. So he always finds a way to keep himself in the headlines. So fair play to him. Right wing back, though he's kind of a right back, but it's just gone to the formation that I went with. Jimmy Dunn, he got Player of the Year for QPR. He's had a really good season. He's moved into that right back role, and he just seems to be a really likeable guy. I think he'll get a Premier League move.
Hopefully,
be surprised if he didn't. But it'd be interesting to see where his next move will take him. Then I've gone with a back three. I think Nathan Collins gets in there every day of the week, and I think it's because how consistent he's been, how much he's grown this year. And I was looking at the Premier League table today, and Brentford were 8th. So, I mean, I think that shows how good of a season
he's been a mainstay in that.
Yeah, exactly. And he's been like adding assists, and he's been getting goals as well. So, he hasn't just been kind of just there and in the team. My other centre back it's another one of the three. Matt Doherty might surprise a few people, but I thought since he's came into that Wolves side under the new manager Pereira, that he's going to go into a more central role, and he's helped them get results, and he scored big goals at times as well. So I've gone with Matt Doherty as a centre back in there, and then I've gone with Jake O'Brien, who predominantly has been playing right back. I understand that, but he is a centre back realistically, and I think what his second half of the season since David Moyes came in and how well Everton have done, I think he's been a huge cog in that wheel and helping Everton get back to where they should be, higher in the table. And I think Jake's played a huge part now, and he's got goals as well, big important goals to kind of rescue Everton at times in that kind of spell as well. So the last game he actually played was at centre back, and I was at that game against Ipswich, so I would take that. Dara O'Shea harshly dropped, but I think the fact that he got relegated with Ipswich would be my only kind of black mark against him. So that's why I've gone with the other two lads over him. Centre mids, defensive mid, Josh Cullen, captain Burnley, back up to the Premier League, got them promoted. Jason Knight's played every minute for Bristol City. I think he's been brilliant, and I think he'll probably get a move. Everton are looking at him, so I think that would be one that makes sense. I think that's something that Everton need, is legs in and around the midfield, and someone who can score a goal and pop up goals, and that's what he does. Centre attacking midfielder, Finn Azaz. I mean, I think that one speaks for itself. Obviously, last time I checked, he had 10 goals, 10 assists.
12 goals and 11 assists now. So very good season.
So yeah, from centre, mid or attacking mid, or the 10, and also you got the goal and a couple of assists for Ireland in the last window as well. So you have to take that into account. And then up front, obviously, look, 40 goals between them, Idah and Parrott. I think that's a really good team. I think that's you'd be hard to do better than that, in my opinion. But that's the team that I've gone for, and I think it speaks for itself. As I said, there might be room for a few others to kind of come in and come out, but I think overall, I think that's the bulk of a really good squad and a really good team of the season.
Yeah, don't disagree with a lot of that. Actually, quite similar teams. I have a couple of slight changes, and it starts with the goalkeeper. I did go with Josh Keeley. Kelleher's had a great season. I just think we've kind of come to expect that from him. It's probably the standard that he set, that it's kind of, he just lived up to that. I don't think it was anything amazing. I don't think it was anything underwhelming. I thought it's what we come to expect from Caoimhín Kelleher, and it's why we hope that he gets a move on now. But Josh Keeley, real breakout season. 36 appearances on loan at Leyton Orient from Spurs. 34 goals conceded, which is like a brilliant statistic in that amount of time. I think 16 clean sheets in that time. We all remember the goal he scored earlier in the season. And taking Leyton Orient to the playoffs, which at the moment that we're recording, they're 2-2 with Stockport after the first leg, but probably deserved more out of that. So hopefully he can help them get promoted. Either way, he's been a big part in their season this year, so I've gone with him. Onto the back four, I'm playing a 4-3-3. I've got Jimmy Dunn at right back. Like Paul said, don't need to go over it too much. Players Player of the Year, Supporters Player of the Year, played almost every minute for QPR this season, been a huge part in their year. Nathan Collins again, don't need to touch on that too much, has been superb for Brentford this season, been a big part of their season, why they've done so well. I did go with Darragh O'Shea. I think the stats won't back that up, but I think just from watching them, the individual performances, Ipswich wouldn't have even had a sniff of staying up if he wasn't there. He was the ever present in that back line that was always rotating. And aside from Liam Delap and maybe one or two others, I thought he was really the outstanding performer in the disappointing Ipswich side. I also went with James McLean as my left back, captain Wrexham, as you said. Incredible historic promotion for them, finished second behind Birmingham, going up to the Championship. James McLean has to be in this, I think. Shout out to Robbie Brady, though, he did do well this season. Josh Cullen then, defensive midfielder, like you said, 16 goals conceded for Burnley, an incredible record, and he was that anchor in the midfield that played a huge role in that. Just ahead of him with Jason Knight as well, Players Player of the Year and Supporters Player of the Year, similar to Jimmy Dunn, been captain of Bristol City, and like you said, probably is going to be his last couple of appearances for them in the playoffs, which they got hammered in the first leg against Sheffield United, so doesn't look like they're going to be promoted through the playoffs. Bristol City has been great for his development, but I think we both agree that it is time for him to make that jump forward. Finn Azaz, again, goes without saying, 12 goals, 11 assists. Just missed out in the playoffs with Middlesbrough, but had a great season, like you said.
I know who your third striker is.
Yeah.
Did he?
It is indeed. I'll come on to that now, but the two lads, the two obvious ones, Troy Parrott and Adam Idah, like you said, 40 goals in between them. Troy Parrott, probably AZ's best player this season. Unfortunately got injured towards the back end of the season, which has hampered him a little bit, but involved in some of them big European nights for AZ. Adam Idah as well, involved in some great Champions League moments this season, and has really finished the season strong with Celtic, winning the league and in a cup final with them now against Aberdeen. And
the cup final, just Troy was 2 minutes away from winning it for AZ as well.
Unfortunately got a knock in that game that meant he had to go off at half time. And like you said, you predicted it. I've David McGoldrick as my last forward. He was brilliant for Notts County in League 2 this season, 17 goals. Got them to the playoffs, which they're currently 1-0 down in the first leg. But some of the goals he scored this season have just been outrageous. And considering he's 37 years of age and still performing at such a high level, it's just incredible. So I had to find a way to get him in this team. So that's my team of the season.
Yeah, no, I think it's just a low level for me. I think that's the only reason I'm trying to pick the players at the highest level for this team. I suppose when you look at James McLean being in there, probably says otherwise. But like he's after getting pulled up to the championship. Robbie Brady was the only other kind of left wing back I could think of, and I did kind of have him in, and we spoke beforehand, and I was like, I said, who have you got left wing back? And you said James McLean. And I was like, actually, yeah, that's a fairly obvious one. But because I couldn't think of anyone after Robbie Brady, to be honest with you. Like, Ryan Manning didn't have a good season. Like,
no,
he's just happens to be there by, it is. I could have shoehorned Dara O'Shea at left back if I really wanted to, but I don't do those sort of things because I'm not one of those type of people.
Oh, this team isn't playing a match. This is just the team of the season.
Doesn't matter. You play players in their best position,
right?
But yeah, I think my team would beat your team in a match. So
yeah, I just went for the players who had the best season relative to the level that they were playing at, and didn't just pick Premier League players. So that's my argument.
There's a fair few championship players there. To be honest.
Yeah, no, I know. I just thought that Josh Keeley, breakout season, had to get him in. He's been so important for Leyton Orient. Dave McGoldrick been probably the best player in League Two, or up there anyway. And yeah, that not really anymore. Dara O'Shea, I thought, has just been excellent for Ipswich in a couple of like kind of standout performances. So very similar teams, but there's a lot in there that's kind of obvious picks. Like there's no debate on Finn Azaz, Troy Parrott, Adam Idah.
I'd like to see what the comments will say on their team. Like,
yeah,
well, I've no problem. It's your team. I don't have to tell you who to pick and who not to pick. That's just. I think there's a good room for debate there in the comments.
Yeah, Jake O'Brien I just didn't pick because for the first half of the season he basically didn't play at all really under Sean Dyche, and he was excellent when David Moyes did get hired, and he did play a big part obviously for Everton after that, but just based on the kind of first half of the season kind of set him back in my eyes. So that's
if he wasn't there, Everton would have got relegated. He was one of the reasons why Everton fortunes changed, and he was dropping 8s and 9s out of 10 every week, playing for Everton, now right back in a position where he was kind of almost like a third centre half at times. So that's why. And look, he's kind of cemented his place in the Ireland team now. I think so that's why I've gone with him. I have nothing against Dara O'Shea. I love the guy. I think he's a great fella as well, personally. But it was just because he got relegated. That was the only thing that made me go with Jake. And I think Matt Doherty got a lot of stick and handled it really well and turned the season around. So I think he deserves massive praise as well.
Definitely, yeah. A couple of honourable mentions there. So let us know what you think of those teams in the comments down below. Now, just to move on to the Ireland fixtures coming up, we play Senegal and Luxembourg. The squad is going to be announced this Wednesday coming. And it sounds like Hamer's going to pick a kind of rotated team. He's going to leave out a couple of players who have had long seasons, who have a lot of minutes in the legs, who don't really need to be playing friendlies at this time of the season. Sounds like he's going to bring in a couple of new faces as well. There's talk that John Patrick Finn from Rem is going to be drafted into the squad, that he's had discussions with him. Who are a couple of the names that you want to see included into this? Who are a couple of the changes that you'd like to see?
John Patrick Finn's the only one who I can think of off the top of my head. I want to see what he would be like playing for Ireland, see how he gets on. After that, I don't know how much more experiment is he going to pick League of Ireland players. I don't know. It would be nice to kind of get an idea. Who do you think he's going to?
Well, the ones that come to my head are players who have been injured in the last squad. So the likes of Andrew Omabamidele, Festi Ebisele might be brought in. Smodics maybe as well. I don't know if he'll be ready to come back in yet.
He's back in the grass there during the week.
Yeah, hasn't gotten much game time over this season at all. So it's great to see him kind of getting back to fitness. Josh Keeley, who we both mentioned in our teams, could be another name who's brought in. I doubt that there's no real reason to bring Caoimhin Kelleher into this squad, really.
Bazuna's injured.
Yeah, so you're thinking Keeley, Max O'Leary.
Yeah. I think Max O'Leary will get game time.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Callum Robinson could be another name who sounded like he just missed out on the last squad. Seamus Coleman potentially come back.
You know what? If that game was his last game against Senegal, I think that could be a really nice one because he has his mate there, Idrissa Gana Gueye.
True, yeah.
If he was to be called up on that tour to be his last international, it'd be a lovely send off to get more people to go there. If they kind of made it a bit more of a thing where it's going to be Seamus's last game, that could be really nice. And I think that could be something that probably people aren't even thinking about now. It just
Yeah.
literally came into my mind. But if that's his last game, I think that would be a lovely send off, no matter what the scoreline is or whatever, for him to play, come off in the 60th minute, 60 grand, Seamus Coleman.
Yeah.
So, if he was to come up in the 60th minute and get a lovely reception, I think that would be a lovely way to kind of say thanks to him and let him have his moment, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And we've talked about it before, or we've talked a good bit about Seamus Coleman today, but another thing that was in my thinking there was that I remember Hamer talking after the last squad announcement saying that Seamus was far from happy about being kind of excluded from that squad after being named in the provisional squad. So maybe he gets brought into this one as well. Liam Scales, another name who's back. Could see him return into the team.
Yeah, because I think the last time he played was in a bad note again, getting sent off against England. So
yeah,
Mark McGuinness could be another as well. So there's a few, but they don't really fill me with excitement. I can't wait to go down to the Viva and see him. But I think if you put the kind of twist on it, which could be Seamus' last game, then there's something that excites you because you want to be there to say that you're at his last game or whatever, that sort of thing. Yeah,
it'd be two historic moments: Seamus' last game and first African team to play in the Aviva. So be an interesting game, to be fair. League of Ireland players.
Monaghan.
Yeah, Honohan was in the provisional squad last time around, didn't get brought into the actual squad. Johnny Kenny, which Hamer made a bit of a slip up saying that he still played for Shamrock Rovers. He was in the the provisional squad last time around, didn't get drafted in. Can't see really any reason.
Meepo,
do you think? Has he done enough?
He scores a couple of goals between now and June. He could.
Yeah.
He could be
Jack Byrne.
Could be a late call. Could be.
Yeah. They're the only real names that spring to mind that could be brought in. Aidan Keane, I would doubt it. Honohan is the one that it really seems like he was kind of on the brink last time around to be good.
Dylan Watts could be one as well.
Potentially, yeah.
Fielder,
Hasn't really lived up to the heights of last season so far this season. Matt Healy has probably kind of outshined him so far in that Rovers team.
Steve Weir there, is he?
Yeah, you actually have a little thing here. Steve at a communion right now, so shout out to him. He'll be back next week for the award ceremony, but he loves Matt Healy. Could be an interesting one if he get brought in. They're the only real names that spring to mind as far as League of Ireland players getting drafted into the squad, which would bring a lot of interest to these fixtures.
There's no one really after that. I don't think Noonan won't get called up. Mason Mealer won't get called up. I'd be very surprised. So can't think of anyone else who we could call up. To be honest,
it'd be interesting though. It does bring a bit of intrigue to this, like not just the same old names. That we will get to see a couple of new faces potentially, especially John Patrick Finn. Like it's been rumored that Hamer has had discussions with him about being brought into this squad. So it'd be really interesting to see him make his Ireland debut if he does, play in those games.
Listen, I am excited to hopefully see some new players brought in. Smallbone out injured again.
Is he? Yeah.
No, I said is he? So if he is, I'd like to see him come back into the team. But we need more. We need depth in midfield. We need options in midfield. It's what we don't have. It's what we're really lacking.
Killian Phillips maybe get brought into the...
Could be an option.
Yeah.
That's a good shout.
Yeah, so it will be interesting to see these couple of new faces in these friendlies. That about does it for this week, really. So, as I said, make sure to tune in next week for our award ceremony, our Irish Football Fan TV, Irish Abroad, end of season awards. So, make sure to look out on all the channels for our content during the week. League of Ireland content, Irish Abroad content, everything you need. So, we'll see you next week.